Здравствуйте. Сегодня я буду продолжать читать книгу «Доктор Jekyll and Mr. Hyde». Time passed. The search of Mr. Hyde continued. Sir Danvers Carroll was an important and popular man, and the police tried desperately to arrest the murderer and bring him to trial. But there was no sign of Mr. Hyde himself. Although the police and the newspapers discovered a lot about his past life, nobody, it seemed, could say one good word about the wanted man. He was a cruel, violent man who had lived an evil life full of hate and jealousy. None of this, however, was any help to the police. Mr. Hyde had just disappeared. As time went by, Mr. Utterson became calmer and more at peace with himself. He was truly sorry that his client, Sir Danvers Carroll, was dead, but he was also very glad that Mr. Hyde had disappeared. As for Dr. Jekyll, he too appeared calmer and happier. He came out into the world again. He invited friends to his house and accepted invitations to theirs. He had always been a good and generous man. Now, however, he became a churchgoer too. He was busy. He spent a lot of time in the fresh air and he looked happy and carefree. For more than 2 months, he was at peace with himself and the world. In the 80th of January, Mr. Utterson was invited to dinner at Dr. Jekyll's house. Dr. Lyon was there too. This is quite like old times, thought the lawyer as he watched Dr. Jekyll smiling at Dr. Lyon. On January 12th, however, and again on the 14th, Dr. Jekyll refused to see visitors. The doctor is not well, explained Paul. He hopes you will forgive him, but he cannot see anyone. Mr. Utterson called again next day, and again the day after that. After 2 months of almost daily meetings with his old friends, the lawyer felt rather lonely. On the 6th evening, he invited his clerk, Mr. Guest, to dinner with him, and on the 7th night, he went to visit Dr. Lyon. Dr. Lyon made him welcome, but Mr. Utterson was shocked by the change in the doctor's appearance. His face, which was usually pink and healthy, was gray and thin, and there was a frightened look in his eyes. He was suddenly an old, sick man. He looks, said Mr. Utterson to himself, like a man who knows he's dying. How are you, Lyon? He sighed. You don't look well. I've had a shock, Utterson, replied Dr. Lyon, and it will cause my death. I have only a few weeks to live. He paused. Well, it comes to us all sooner or later. I've had a good life, on the whole. On the whole. Jekyll is ill too, said the lawyer. Have you seen him? At the name of Jekyll, the look on Dr. Lyon's face changed. Please, he said, holding up a trembling hand, don't speak that name in this house. Oh dear, said Mr. Utterson. He hesitated for a moment. The three of us have been friends all our lives, Lyon. We are too old now to make new friends. Can't you forgive and forget? Perhaps I can help. Nothing can be done, replied Dr. Lyon. Ask him yourself. He won't let me into the house. This doesn't surprise me. One day, Utterson, after I'm dead, you will perhaps learn the full story. Meanwhile, if you can sit and talk to me of other things, please stay. Just don't mention that person, as it hurts me to think about him. As soon as he got home, Mr. Utterson wrote to Dr. Jekyll. In his letter, he asked why Jekyll refused to let him into his house, and why he and Dr. Lyon were no longer friendly. The reply was long and not always easy to understand.